We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to another edition of Raising Our Gifted Children right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful four-time repeat guest, Heather Dugan. And the reason why is because she's always got so much wonderful information to share with us. I invite you just to go to the site, selfdiscoverymedia.com, and search engine, put in Heather Dugan, D-U-G-A-N, and you will see all of the shows that she's done with me. We've done shows on surviving the holidays when you're alone. We've done shows with Beverly Copeland on life, and we've done shows on the friendship upgrade. And of course, this is our fourth show, but every single show gives you nuggets that are going to help you on your life. So today we're going to be talking about that thing that it happens. I'm a victim of that too. Not my parents divorced. My dad died. Otherwise, they would have. But I did divorce my children's father, and it's all a question of how we do it. If a marriage isn't
Yes.
working, then it is time to either get the counseling or call it quits. But it's how you call it quits and how you involve the children. It's going to scar them for life or it's going to empower them. And it's really a question up to us. So, she says that children can move forward when parents are good role models for their kids. This can turn what it could be a devastating experience into an opportunity for growth and fulfilling their future. If you use your strength of honesty with your teenagers or younger kids, be honest with them about the situation. It helps normalize what is happening, encourages them to be honest with you, and provide plenty of opportunities to express themselves and talk. So, Heather, as a resilient single mom of three, her devastating isolation from multiple family deaths and lengthy divorce sparked her personal quest to solve her own loneliness. And she is the founder of Cabinet Coaches, Social Access and Self Betterment for Women. And it's a difficult one, divorce, isn't it? Because I stayed in my marriage too long because I thought I was doing it for the kids. It was my kids that came divorce, divorce.
Yes. We can't hide the little ruptures that are
Mm,
there. I think, I am one. I watched my parents stay together for the
yeah,
kids. And there were a lot of things that were lost. And one of the things that was gained, though, unfortunately, was a very low bar
yeah.
on what constituted a healthy relationship.
Oh,
My
yeah.
parents were wonderful. They were good people, but it was not working.
No,
And I think for myself, ultimately, also having gone through a divorce, I think you have to get to a place where you're like, are we able to show
mm,
our kids the kind of relationships they should be aspiring to? And are both of us allowed to be the kind of people that we aspire to be? If one party is kind of squashing the other down and
yeah,
diminishing their capacity to be their full self, yes, we make sacrifices in a relationship, but if it is becoming very obviously to the
costly.
detriment,
Yes,
right?
yes,
And certainly if there's antagonism in there,
yes,
that's a nasty subcurrent, and you can't, it's there. I mean, you may think you're hiding it
yeah.
behind closed doors, but that's not something that can be hidden.
And let's not be fooled. Our kids are way brighter than we think they are.
Oh, yes, they
They
are.
know what's going on. They don't like what's going on. They don't like what's affecting it. And it's like if parents, if you can't get your shoot together, it's time to part, which is
Yeah, well,
kind of what
it
came
and
about
it's
from
it's
mine.
so hard, and
Uh-huh.
it's like, and it throws the whole family into this
Mm,
tumult. Varying degrees of it depending on the maturity of the two adults that are involved in this and the complexity of it all. But yeah, it's hard because a lot of times you're in this maybe a bad relationship, bad marriage, but you know what that is, and that big ugly cloud over here, you're not sure what you're going to be walking into. And I think
right.
that's why it's important to really, if you think that's you, to put in the preparation time so that you
Hmm.
can do it well instead of
Yeah.
reacting and being emotional. because
Don't bring that.
emotions are,
Yeah.
yeah, they're going to be there. But
Hmm.
the more you're able to direct yourself to a better place outside your children's view, much better experience for their growth and the human beings that they'll grow to be.
Yeah. The thing is, if you've got to that stage, neither one of you are representing who you really are.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're role models for your children, then well, you're representing a falsehood. They can't aspire to that
Mhm.
dysfunction. This is why we see dysfunction constantly, being recycled.
Repeating.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a
exactly.
rinse and repeat item,
Exactly. It
right?
is. And so, when it came to mine, I knew that that was it. I mean, basically, the kids gave me the permission, and I said, I'm waiting for my youngest to grow up. And she said, forget that. We'll manage, Mum. This can't go on.
Right.
And it was through that permission and I talk with the kids that I asked for the divorce. And um, there wasn't a positive reaction to it. And he stayed
Yes.
in the house for 2 years. And I, during that time, took many courses in discovering who I was and,
Hmm.
allowing him to spread his wings. And eventually at the 2 year mark, I said, we're not getting back together. It is
Right.
time for you to move on. And we could do it peacefully because for me, it was let him, although I asked for the divorce, let him feel um, it's his choice, right?
Allowing both
Yeah,
parties to feel
yeah,
and to feel
yeah,
dignity, and to
yeah.
show respect.
Hmm.
And that is, of course, important for these children too,
Yes,
because, he still represents a large part of who they are. And while you may disagree and know things that they'll never know because you shouldn't
hmm,
share, um, they see the things that they want to have in themselves as part of themselves.
yeah.
So any bad words about them, that's, about the husband or the wife, whoever the partner is, that's an indirect bad reflection on the kids. We
And
forget that. Mhm.
and the kids see everything, and they know exactly. I mean, it wasn't just divorce because we were fighting. It was that demeaning. It was that
Yeah.
degrading. It was that
Hmm.
diminishing of me. And it's like,
Right.
you positively hate me. Why are we in this marriage? And
Right.
that is reflected in everything you say and do to me. And these kids are having to see that. And I don't want that to be a
Right.
norm in their life. And when your own son becomes the mediator, things have to
Oh,
change, right?
totally out of whack with
Yes.
that. You're right.
Yeah.
That's out of whack. And I think, if you have a partner that is, that you have to bring this up with, of course, see a therapist to get all the right words that you might possibly
Yeah.
need to have in your arsenal. But if the more you're able to present it as creating the opportunity for them to have the kind of relationship they deserve,
Yes.
give it to them instead of pulling something to yourself. Yes, yes, it's better for you, but a lot of times in those situations where you're with somebody that is against a divorce, you almost have to turn it to allow them to see the opportunity in it for
Yes.
themselves. And
Exactly.
right, right.
I mean, in our case, he stayed in the house for 2 years. We would still go out as a
Mhm,
family. We went away on holiday as a family, but he and
mhm.
I were separate. And
Right,
the
right.
kids knew this was all coming. And
Mhm.
but it was kind of a transition. It allowed me to grow,
Yeah,
and it allowed the kids to see me be more empowered, even under the roof, but not being together. And when he
right.
did leave, it changed things quite considerably. And for the first, 5 years from the time I asked for the divorce, we would go to functions together, and people say, "But you aren't together. How come you're here?" Well, we don't have
Mhm.
to be enemies.
Right.
When somebody came into my life, that changed because I wasn't allowed
Mhm.
anybody in my life. It was okay when I still didn't have anyone. But we did walk our daughter down the aisle together, and we
Mhm.
have a grandson, and we do see each other now and again. And it's just, he's the father of my children. For me,
You have
it's
wonderful children, and
one,
that's what
yeah, exactly.
that's
That's
the
the
one.
gift. That's the
And
gift that
that's
they
what they
gave
need
you.
to know.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what they need to know. And I think, depending on the ages of the children, the whole approach is going to be so different.
Exactly.
With younger children, if you're bringing the concept of mom and dad eventually living separately to them, it's, I think, well, and actually it's with any kid. I think honestly, it's almost like you would approach sex ed. You
Mhm.
tell them that you start small. What
Yeah.
do they want to
See,
know? What
little
do they need
little
to know?
seedings. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Don't
if
have to
you
full
throw
bloom.
everything all in the
Yeah.
same
Too
breath,
much.
you're going to bring in things they haven't begun to think about, and it just
No.
gives them more fodder to worry about.
Yeah.
So, the more that you're able to explain a change in terms of how that's really going to look in their life, what will stay the same in their life. You'll still have this bed, you will be doing,
Yeah.
you will be doing these activities with these friends, and then you can't obviously throw smoke over the whole thing. But
Right.
again, trying to allow them to see that there may be some good opportunities in it, even as it's not what was planned or what is wanted necessarily, but there'll be some opportunities for some new things. My prayer was always that my kids would grow new strengths. And
Yes.
it's always been I had things happen that were very horrible in my life at times. But I can look back now and see that was exactly what was the catalyst for
Yes.
growing strengths that I really am very grateful for today. And
Right.
I'm a different person. Your children will grow to be different people after a divorce, but they can grow up to be very, very productive, happy adults.
Yeah.
They're going to be learning off of watching you.
And I think it's good to be honest with them. Look, I don't know
Mhm,
who I am now. I'm in
mhm.
self-discovery. This is an end of a
To a
marriage where I
point.
became someone
Uh-huh.
else. And it depends
Right.
on the age. I think if they're
Right.
teenagers, you can be open and honest with them.
Mhm.
Um, and it was like I'm in self-discovery of who I am now and my place in the world without him, because I can never go back to who I was before him.
Right.
And what I
Right.
became with him is not the person
Mhm.
I want to be. So I'm in discovery of who I am now. I'm going to make
Right.
mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm like you out in the world in discovery, but we can talk
Mhm.
about this. And, there's going to be things you're not going to tell me until I'm older and can take it, and
Mhm.
vice versa, you know.
Right.
But
No,
it's,
sure.
honesty up to the age they can take it, right?
Yes. Oh, I think so. And I think, admitting your own mistakes is
Yes.
indeed so important because that allows them to feel that they can as well. And we
Yeah.
all need to have the freedom. Otherwise, we're not trying new things.
Right.
And looking at it is, I remember going through and thinking, okay, what traditions do we have that are important to us that we want to keep as part of our life, either
Mm,
on, regular basis or an annual basis, whatever it is, if it's holiday based or just
mm.
the way we do our weekends.
Yeah.
And then also, getting creative together. What do we want to do, and getting new ideas into the equation? The kids may find that it's a time that some of their ideas that might have been too wild to suggest when
Mm.
there were two parents there have a little more ballast, or a little less ballast hanging them down, rather, when it's just the smaller group with a mother that's open to discovering new things maybe.
I
But
think the other thing too is something to watch out for. Um, each parent trying to be the favorite of the kids.
oh yeah.
And then the kid becomes very manipulative. Well, dad gives me this, well, mom does that. And there's that one-upmanship. And just don't go down that road. It is so
the
detrimental to
yeah
your child.
the more that you are able to still co-parent, and I
Hmm.
think that's important, that is something. It's critical. And a lot
Mm.
of parents fail here. They may
Yes.
even think they aren't, but they are kind of under the surface still trying to do exactly what you're saying. But the
Mm.
kids need to know that they've still got accountability
Yes.
from both sides.
Hmm.
And the more you're able to, when your child has an issue with the other parent, to say, he may be approaching this way because he's concerned about this, or he has this going on in his life right now. What are some words you could use that would allow you to share your feelings here, and then kind of help them, help equip them to go back and solve that with the other parent, so that you don't have to jump in the middle. They have to have a
Yeah.
very separate relationship with that
Yes.
parent. And the
Yes.
more you're able to help them get confident in forging that themselves, the better. And hopefully the other parent will do the same for your children with you.
Mm.
And it's, if you're at a place where you're able to talk with the other parent about this, it's good to kind of maybe share, I found this to be helpful when, this child is concerned about, you don't want to obviously share information that's been shared with
Right.
you confidentially, but explain how you're trying to encourage them to have these hard conversations, and that you hope that they're doing the same too.
Yeah. I mean, my kids were teenagers, and I know that,
Mhm.
my oldest was maybe 20, yeah, 19,
Mhm.
20 at that point. My son's 17, 18. And, I know that she picked relationships afterwards that were based a lot on what she saw growing up.
Oh yeah.
And
It's very typical, isn't it?
it
Yeah.
took her a while to kind of realize, my
Oh
darling, you're
yeah.
repeating that
That's what I'm
pattern. Are you
doing.
aware? He
Hmm.
may not be doing exactly what your dad did to me, but just look at how he's treating you, that this could be
Hmm.
parallel. Are you aware of that? And sometimes they're
Yeah.
not, because we don't realize we repeat patterns. We think it's totally different. It
Hmm.
may be a totally ethnic background, it may be a totally different religion, a totally different person, but the
Right.
patterns are the same, and
You
we
know,
don't realize we're repeating them.
I liken it to when you make a wrong turn and then it becomes familiar to you. Say you're on a vacation, you
Mm,
turn the wrong way to get to the one restaurant, and then you do it again because you remember
right.
that's the turn. And it can take a lot to not just immediately swing into something because
Mm,
it's familiar. And so, if she recognizes something that feels like childhood, that's normal. But
yes.
we have to begin to define what
Right.
normal can be. It isn't always what we grew up with.
Yeah.
You have to define your own how you want your life to be going up, and being honest yourself, like we've talked about, saying, I'm sad about this. I wish that it had gone differently. I wish that your dad and I were able
Mm.
to have conversations that allowed us to work through this. But then that allows them to do it better.
But it's also for me, it was like, look, your dad and I can
Hmm.
no longer go on together. We're
Hmm.
hurting each other. I had to realize I didn't have any self-value or self-esteem, and kind of handing him the boots. He had to
Hmm.
realize he was putting on those boots, proverbially kicking me. So
Right.
it's when I got stronger, he, as by his own admission, lost control over me. Right.
Yeah.
So it was good for the kids to see me get stronger, but it wasn't necessarily him getting weaker, but it was the accountability.
Well, it
I,
was becoming an equal partner, and
right.
a similar situation for myself. When I looked at the woman that I was then, I did not want my kids. I didn't want my sons to look for that kind of a partner.
Yeah.
I didn't want my daughter to grow up with the fear and the weakness that I was
Mm,
showing, not
mm.
realizing it.
No,
But
no, you think
it
you're being
was
strong, but they see
I was
everything.
surviving
Yes.
the
Yeah.
where we were.
Yeah.
And we need to have we're adult women,
Yes.
and confidence is a good thing. It doesn't mean that we have to throw our will atop of everybody else's, but it means that you are an equal partner in a
And
situation.
you can stand firm
Mm.
on yourself and your own choices and not get pushed around.
Choices are big.
Very
Making your
big.
own choices are good. And of course, within a family, there are compromises, but just
Yes.
knowing where it's too far and
Mm,
allowing your kids to see, you speak up and handle the best thing you could model to your children is if you can have a disagreement and discuss it and move through it.
yes.
That's ideal when you can do that. And,
But if
and,
you
and it
could
is,
do that with your kids, you can. But if you could
yeah.
do that with your spouse, you wouldn't be in the position you're in,
But
right?
but you may need to redo that kind of learning with your kids after
Definitely.
coming out of a marriage like that, because they have, I remember at one point one of my children saying something about arguing being about winning. And I said, oh, I
Yeah.
remember thinking, my goodness, he really has seen the wrong thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And
Yes. And for a while there, my son, who hated what my ex did to me, but started doing it himself.
oh dear.
And I
Yeah.
said, I love you to death, but I'm not going to tolerate
Hmm.
this. I've just had 20 years of it. You're
Yeah.
not going to go and live with your dad for a while.
Mm.
And he tries this on you. I know you're not going to take it, and vice versa, right? Develop a
Yeah.
relationship with your dad on your own, but
Hmm.
you know what's wrong, you know what's right. And they did. They lived together for a couple of years, and it was a really good, it was a good thing for him to grow
Hmm.
within himself and see his
Okay.
dad out of my light, see him in a
Hmm.
different light. And he has actually
Yeah.
today the best relationship with his dad, other than
Hmm.
with the girls. But I said to the kids, look, my relationship is over. Your relationship with your father is your relationship. How you
Mm-hmm.
interact, where you go from here. If there's any issues, you come to me, but
Mm-hmm.
it's your relationship from here on. It's
Right.
defined by the two of you.
Right. And as you were speaking there, Sarah, it was reminding me of another really important point. Because of age differences, personality types, genders, all kinds of factors, it's going to hit our kids in different ways at
Yes.
different times to different degrees. And so, I think sometimes when you're in the midst of it, and if it's tumultuous and in
Yeah.
a long term, mine took 3 years, you can almost, because you want to believe it, think that the quiet kid is doing okay.
Right.
And that isn't necessarily
No.
the case. I think it's really important within that time frame. And really, I loved before and after, but it's getting one-on-one time with each
Mm,
kid, and it can be more challenging
yeah.
when you're splitting custody and you have to create those opportunities, even if it's just to run to the grocery together or something, or the
Yeah.
garden in the backyard together. But to create space where, if there's proximate space opportunities, then conversations can develop,
Yeah.
the things can come out. But if you don't create those spaces, it won't happen when all of you are sitting around the dinner table or whatever. And hopefully you're all sitting around the dinner table. That doesn't always happen either. It's
Yeah.
hard to,
Exactly. Exactly.
but
Um.
group dynamics are very different
Yeah.
than, and
Yeah.
people get lost.
And again, I think it's what happened for me in many ways is that my
Mm-hmm.
kids became my strength. And even today,
Mm-hmm.
they're all in their 30s now. One's turning 40. How did that happen?
Oh
Uh,
my.
and it's they know which journey my life took, which led me to doing
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing to now, but not financially secure. And so they always
Mm-hmm.
worry about me, and they worry about my health, and they worry about my well-being, and it's the roles changed. And I said, I love
Mm-hmm.
the fact that the worrying's on that side. I
Mm-hmm.
hope I wasn't this big a worry wart over you as you are over me.
Right.
Because
And
sometimes it's like
right. And you know what? I think sometimes you almost have to say, I'm an adult woman. I can
yes,
handle this,
yeah,
because, and bless their hearts for being
yes,
protective and,
oh
and,
yeah,
and
it's all
caring. I
out of love.
mean,
Yeah,
family love is amazing. My kids are my favorite people, and I'm sure you
yeah,
say the same thing.
yes,
They're just the best. But yeah, you want them to feel free to develop their lives
yeah,
in whatever way. That's one of the big things I think I remember sharing with them and being grateful for when I saw it happening in them, but that they were able to make choices, not worrying about what a parent thought or what
yes,
they could make their own. And people that have done that all their lives take it for granted.
yeah,
But for those of us that maybe didn't have that opportunity early on, it's difficult to learn, yes, this wheel is mine. I get to turn it.
yeah,
And so, and that again, that comes down to all the way through letting them, they make those choices, giving them opportunities to make choices. And then they make these bigger life choices, and you stand there and go, oh my gosh, I
I
can't
know.
believe you're not going to be down in this
Yeah, I
town anymore, and that you're going to be doing that. But be well,
know. Yeah.
do it. You've got it,
And also is that it's okay to fall. It's okay to make
Mm,
a wrong choice. It's okay to go and
yes,
do something stupid, right? And it's
right.
like I may call you out on it, but I'll still
Mm.
be there loving. Never to have love and discipline. I won't love you because of. No,
Oh
that
yeah.
that love must always be there. You can still discipline, or you can still call them out on a choice, but you can still help them pick them back up, because
Yeah.
we make mistakes right to the
Oh yeah.
day we die, right? And we don't want persecution. We want them
No.
to, okay, what did you learn from it?
Right. And if we want to foster creativity, there are
Yeah.
mistakes in creativity. I
Yes.
one of my good mom moments, I've got to say, with my youngest, I said, you saw where your brother messed up. You
Mm.
saw the
Mhm.
mistakes your sister made. All I ask is that you make original mistakes. So,
He was
learn
number three.
from, he was number three.
Yeah,
And
the same
so,
with my third. She said I
yeah,
watched them and I took a
yeah.
different path.
So I will make mistakes too, but
Yeah.
I've learned from theirs, and I'm going to
Yes.
learn from mine. But yeah, you have to, my goodness, the child that will not risk is the
Yeah.
one that's afraid of making a mistake.
Right.
And we don't want to raise our kids to be like that, and you don't want them to come out of a fractured family situation
Right.
and feel fearful about risking a romantic relationship
Right.
themselves. So
And
the
you know
more
that,
you can show your recovery and your
yes.
acceptance, your openness, this is not how I thought life would go,
Yeah.
but and it hurt. It
Yeah.
still hurts sometimes, but I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I've learned this, and I'm going to try this. And the more that you're able to still embrace your life, that gives them the freedom to go and do their own thing,
Right.
and
Exactly.
to find love themselves.
Yes. Um, and it's when you do see that pattern, just to say, here's another lens to see through.
Mm-hmm.
And I can have these wonderful, open, deep conversations with my children. I've always been blessed, but I've always harvested that anyway. That was
Mm-hmm.
always something that was there. And really, quite honestly, some people say, yeah, but I don't know, should I do it when they're younger? Should I just, stay because they're young? Should I do it when they're older, but they're teenagers and they're going through so much as it is? Maybe I should wait until they're in university. And it's like, you've got to remember, if they're not coming home to the homestead, or if the homestead is dysfunctional, that
Mm-hmm.
is the level they're going to operate on, and everything else that they pursue in life.
You're
So
setting the bar. You're setting the
yeah,
bar.
so there
Yeah,
is,
it's
if the marriage is not working and you cannot get the help in order to get it back on track, it doesn't matter what the age is. You owe it to
mm-hmm.
yourself and to your children to part
To
and
show them
yeah,
something better.
yes,
Yeah. And
because
just,
because don't stay for the sake of the kids, because it very often isn't. It's going to be
right.
detrimental.
But the one thing I would, and I mentioned this earlier, but I want to really emphasize, the more that you're able to plan a little ahead so that you
Yes,
can be very rational and thoughtful
and not
and
knee
not
jerk.
be having surprises and not getting super stressed about all the things you don't know. There will be things you
Mm.
don't know, but find your tools, find your resources, and you don't worry about the things you don't need to worry about yet, but you take care of what you have to now, today.
I
And
did that. It was a good 2 year thing.
perspective.
It was a good
Mhm.
2 year thing. I didn't just immediately ask for a divorce. And I remember going to a workshop of a lawyer, and he said, don't, it was called Don't Call Me. And it was like, I
Mhm.
don't want you to call me. I'm going to take half of your money, and it's up to us to make it antagonizing, and it's
Right,
not going to be a good experience. This is all the skills and tools that you need to have an amicable divorce. And I took that
right.
really to heart. And what I did with him is I planted seeds. You
Hmm.
want to spread your wings. You want to move forward.
Right.
There's somebody out there that you want. You don't want me, and it's okay. It's okay to close this door. And I didn't, not so many words. Obviously, you use your little subliminal words, and I planted those
Mm.
seeds and I watered them. It still came as a shock to him at the time, but and it still a couple of years he was living his life completely. Another woman,
Hmm.
everything else, but still living at home partially,
Yeah.
until I said, okay, time to physically completely leave. But it was a lot of seed and watering, because I took to heart what I learned in that course. And it
Right.
was, I do not want lawyers involved. I don't want
Mm.
mudslinging. I don't want hate. There's already been enough pain and anguish.
Right.
I want this to be something that is inevitable. So let's do this in a way that doesn't have any repercussions.
Right. Some relationships do have an expiration date, and
Yes.
you kind of you do your best to keep it going as long as you can when you've got kids and it's healthy. But if it isn't, the
Yeah.
best gift you're going to give them is showing them that you can say, the relationship wasn't a mistake, but to continue right now would be.
Yes. Yes. Um, I mean, my ex and I never should have married. I mean, there's the kids
Hmm.
pointed out, I don't know how you two got together.
Mm.
You just never should have been. And I said, very easy. One, two, three, the three of you.
Right.
It was
Right.
divinely thing that I have you three from him,
Exactly.
right? But it was
Exactly.
also a discovery of my own self, because I had to realize the pattern I came into that relationship with
Hmm.
was, as I said, handing him the boots.
Hmm.
I didn't speak up for myself. And
Mm.
part of me did,
Yeah.
but he was a piranha, so he would go until he broke things down.
Mm.
But then it got to a point where I couldn't speak up anymore. I was just too beaten down. But I realized, my dad, he died when I was 11, but there would have been a divorce. He was a demoralizer to my mom,
Hmm. Okay.
right? And I married an Oriental guy in a different country of a different religion, different. And I realized, oh my God, in hindsight, I married the same pattern. And we don't
Yes.
realize that. We think they're completely different. And it is,
Uh-huh.
and had I been the strong woman I am today, no, I never would have married him. But this is,
Hmm.
for me, it was there were four gifts out of it. Three of them were my children. The other gift was
Yes.
finding myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's our whole life.
Mm,
We've got things that are going to fall in that are
yeah.
not going to be what we chose. And it always is about what we do with that. A
Yes.
lot of people get stuck there in front of the roadblock,
Mm,
and it's like, this wasn't on my map. I can't go forward, and my map goes forward. And understanding that the opportunity for a detour is really the opportunity for something better.
yeah.
If you're willing to move your feet and be open to creating again.
I think
um
the
you
other
know
thing is that's important. This is an end of a relationship, however many years. It's
hmm
not only the end of the relationship, it's the end of the vision right to the
for
end of
that
your
life,
life.
right?
Allow yourself to go through the grieving process.
Yeah,
Allow
you won't
yourself to
have a
go,
50th wedding
no,
anniversary.
you
You won't
won't.
have. Yeah.
All of
Yeah.
those things that, on the porch and the rocking chair together, it ain't happening, right? And it's
Hmm.
not with this person. And you allow yourself to go through that loss. Allow yourself also to go through, but I am not the same person who married them. I'm not the same person who left
Hmm.
them. And allow yourself to go into the discovery. Now, if you're still in the blame, it's their fault, they did this. Yes, we go and do awful things to each other when we're in pain and we're in a dysfunctional
Hmm.
relationship. Own it up on both sides. But we've both
Hmm.
got to heal from it. Do not go into a rebound relationship wanting someone
Yeah.
else to come and complete you or be the next, ice cream for
That's a
you. No, do the
really
work.
important point. A
Yes,
really important point to take the space. And I do a lot of talking on relationship stuff with people. And one of the big problems is that fear of spending that time alone. And we need that
yes,
space. If we don't take advantage of that, you're right. You will fill it with the next available object in view. And it isn't going to be the best choice. It's simply what was the best available at that moment.
right.
And it isn't going to be a sustainable relationship. And why do that to yourself
Yeah,
again?
yeah.
So taking the time to understand where the problems were. I mean, owning your part of it, as you say, it's
Mm,
that's the only way you prevent yourself
yeah.
from repeating it again. I had read an article a few weeks ago about a lot of women now beginning, and I think you can go too far on this, but there are some young women that will not date unless they know the guy is in therapy or has been in therapy.
Right. Yes,
And it's funny, there was a time that would have been a demerit on somebody.
yes.
Therapy, what in the world is wrong with you? But I think now more and more people
Mm.
understand that, yes,
We all need help.
we all have a few scars on us.
Yes.
And the more we learn how to take care of the things that cause them and prevent ourselves from repetitions that don't work, the better kind of a match we're going to be for somebody else, the better partner we'll be for somebody in the future.
My son's been going that through the last couple of years. He decided to go through therapy, not kind of to traditional therapy, a different type, but he's
Mhm.
going through it. He's becoming that reader. He wanted to
Mm.
know, who am I really?
Yeah.
Why do I react this way? Um, why? Because he's always in long-term relationships, 5, 6 years,
Mhm.
11 years, or whatever, and then combust. What's causing
Yes.
that? And he's been willing to go through that, and he said it's made me more of a man in doing
Mm.
so. So this stigma of needing to see a
Right.
therapist that you speak of, that was a woman's weakness that needs that. No, it's your inner strength, because we all need someone to talk to, sometimes even just to talk it out, but somebody
Right.
who has a
In a
reflection
healthy
back,
way.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. None of us come out of childhood with a perfect framework. things are crooked from one thing or another, whether it's, the circumstances of the environment or the family or the no family gets it perfect. And
No.
so it would behoove all of us to adjust at some point along the way, probably more than once. But the people that get disappointed are the ones that keep trying to build on that
Yes.
crooked framework, and
Yes.
things fall off and relationships collapse. And they're so disappointed when all really that's needed is to put things straight, and to take that time and to take that space, use that productively. Don't, as you say, throw yourself into another rebound relationship. That's not the bandage that's going to work. You really
Yeah.
have to clean the wounds.
And you can, it was 5.5 years before I started dating anyone. And
Mm-hmm.
and yes, completely opposite in so many ways, except for one. I'm a true colors coach, and I love orange personalities. The go-getters, they're
Hmm.
visioners. I'm a visioner. I love people who could see the possibilities, and I'm drawn to that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
drawn to that
Mm-hmm.
type of energy. But it is the detriment to my heart. They're
Mm.
not good heart people, or relationship type people, because they're always, chasing the next thing. And it's like,
Okay.
well, why am I doing that? You know, but I realized, okay, I'm doing that, but on the other side of the things, it opened me up on a different aspect of
Mm.
my life in a different world. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today had I
Okay.
not gone down the journey I did with him. Went down it too long,
Okay.
but I went down
Yeah.
that journey. It was my own self-discovery through not trying to straighten the crooked door, maybe trying to crook myself to get through the door.
Well, and here's the thing. If we don't take the time to fix that, we
Yeah.
find somebody that will lean into that same
Yes.
dysfunction we just left. And so you end up propping against somebody else.
Mhm.
And it is much better when two people can stand up on their own. Then you're going to have a healthy relationship that can move forward in a productive way. And you can be true partners.
Yes.
The leaning thing, it a lot of times, men want to rescue or women want to
Yes.
rescue, and they see something and they may not know what to do with their life, but I
Yeah.
can fix that. And
Yes.
there they go. And they don't have to deal with their own stuff for a little while. But then
That was me.
this stuff becomes your stuff,
Yes.
because then you're swamped by
Yeah.
the same issues you were dealing with in the past relationship.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're very predictable, unfortunately, although we can't see it ourselves a lot of the
Mm,
time. But I'll tell you, it doesn't take much I will talk to people, and they will tell me about a relationship they're in, and you look and they're repeating the pattern of the one before and the one
yeah.
before that. And once you can kind of open their eyes to that, then and start suggesting
Hmm.
other ways to make these choices, it's revolutionary.
Yeah.
You really begin to you feel more hopeful about actually creating the kind of love relationship you would like in your life, the kind that will be sustainable and that you will want to be in for the
I
long
mean, I
term.
kind of like the idea. Have you done your work? Whatever therapy work it is. It could be therapist or could be different journeys in life of just
Mhm.
self-discovery. But I know that I've been single now for quite some time. Don't even date. But if somebody did come into my life, um, if they haven't done the work to be who they are today, I'm not
Mhm.
entertaining it, because I was that fixer. I would see the possibilities in people. I knew what they could be. I would get them there,
Mhm.
and then they don't need me anymore. Right? They've
Right,
moved on
right.
without me, because I'm a kind of a bit of a stigma as to what they used to be rather than and
Mhm.
what they are today. And I'm not, I'll this is my way of fixing people. Here, there's Heather, there's this person, and
Mhm.
that person, there's 3,000 podcasts of people that will help you,
Mhm.
right? So
Right.
that's my channel of fixing now. I don't want to be fixing anyone else. I want somebody who's gone and done it for themselves.
Well, and you know what? That's respecting yourself too,
Yes.
don't you think? I mean, that's a
Yes.
measure of, I think this is important. I want to get this right. So I'm going to put the time and the thought into understanding why I made those choices,
Yes.
and what I would rather do next
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just turning it from something that has happened to you into something that you have a choice in is really important to go forward and do it better. And hopefully that's the kind of thing then that you're modeling to your kids so
Right.
that they can follow suit. But yeah, we it's relationships are wonderful when they're good, but
Yes.
you are, it's
When
a
they're bad, they're
cliche at
very,
this
very
point.
bad.
Right. And you can definitely be more alone with
Yeah.
somebody than by yourself. And
Oh,
you've closed off
got a whole chapter on
possibilities.
that. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So, I think I always advise people, that's the time to begin making good platonic friends.
Yes.
If you haven't prioritized that before, start gathering your
Yeah.
group, meet. That's when I formed Cabernet
Mm.
Coaches and all that. I kind of started getting women together, and then you have more options
Yes.
than, whatever was the least objectionable guy to date on your list,
But
you
the
have,
other thing is you've got each other. I mean, I've always
yes,
been a
that's it.
person. I can take myself to a five-star restaurant and go out for dinner on my own. I'm not there fishing for
Mhm.
anyone. I don't
Right.
need somebody with me to dine with. It's nice to have someone to dine with, and it doesn't have to be a man, right?
No, never. And your friends, when you build good friendships, and that's
Mhm,
what the friendship upgrade gets into all this,
mhm.
they will reflect back to you a
Yes.
better, truer version of yourself, because our versions are not always accurate and they're usually skewed negatively.
Yes.
So your friends will see your possibilities. So find those people and be that friend to other women. That
Yes.
gives you even a greater purpose where you are then. It'll help you to be a better mom for your
Yep.
kids, because they'll also see mom prioritizing herself, and that her world is bigger. They need to know that your world is bigger than just them,
Yes.
because that's a lot of responsibility for them to feel like my mom's happiness hinges on me. We
Yeah.
talked about adult children being
Yeah.
worried. Show them that you can find your own way.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think it's very, very important that, the other thing is, I always say in a relationship, there is you and there is them.
Mhm.
But the us is what you bring combined together. It isn't at the
Yes.
sacrifice of your own individuality. It
Mhm.
is those beautiful common strengths that come together to unite you. It is not
Mhm.
somebody to complete you, it is someone to complement you.
Right. I think the best partnerships, I describe it as the Venn diagrams, where you have the two circles overlapping. It's hard
Yes.
to do that with my hands here,
Yeah.
but you get the idea. The two overlapping
Yes.
circles, you have a good amount in the middle that overlaps, that you are
Yes.
sharing together. But it's important that you be a complete circle
Yes.
outside of that, and that you continue to have some places of yourself that belong to you.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think
Don't lose
traditionally, way
yourself.
back, women lost
Yes.
themselves in a marriage and a relationship.
Yeah.
And what we lost a lot with that. We lost their potential in many ways.
Yeah.
And not to, to say it's to the detriment of the family or the partner or the big picture, but we all need to be complete people ourselves. You're
I
right.
agree. I
Stand tall.
100% agree. And when you can get to this stage of, I'm very happy
Mhm.
to be alone with myself and not be lonely. Because as you said,
Mhm.
being lonely in a relationship is soul destroying,
Mhm.
soul
Right.
destroying. But choosing to be alone because you like your own company,
Yeah. That's the big difference, is
yes.
making it a choice. And that's where it's good. When you have friends, you can be alone, but you're
Mm,
not lonely because you have that choice.
yeah,
Um, yeah, relationship, I look at it as, it would be nice. I'm single at this point. It would be nice to find the right
yeah,
partner, but it's not going to make or break my life. My life is
exactly.
good. Yeah.
Exactly. And yes, it's that extension that you would love to have. I missed kind of dressing up and going out for dinner or holding dinner
Hmm.
parties or going away with someone. Yes,
Hmm.
some celebration that you want to share with each
Hmm.
other's lives or ideas. It'd be absolutely wonderful. But
Hmm.
that won't be in my life at the cost of me ever again,
Yeah.
right?
And there's so many things you can still do, even it may
Yes.
not be as you pictured it, but if you haven't traveled by yourself, I highly recommend. I
I
think
love
everybody
traveling
should
on
do
my
it at
own.
least once or twice,
I love it.
because why would you wait when it might never happen?
Yeah.
If you're waiting for a certain thing to, I call that someday living.
Yes.
Now is the time to do the things that are important to you.
And you
We
never know.
don't,
I
I
mean, if
just,
you're traveling on your own, you never know who you're going to meet. I
right.
did. I mean, since having kids, and then now I kind of go home to family in England.
Hmm.
I 2004, I took a cruise I called it kind of, um, being single and training again. And I thought I'll meet people
Mm-hmm.
on the cruise. Well, the cruise, I was just before my 50th birthday, and the cruise people were 60 and up, and there were two single men in their 70s
Mm-hmm.
and gone immediately. And I went, well, forget that. But it was it was the first time in 27 and a half years I'd been anywhere on my own for myself.
Yes. And just to find
Yeah.
out who that person is. How
Yes.
does this person interact without somebody else, leading the
Yeah.
conversation?
Or you're not having to
It's,
micromanage something. Because
yeah,
even if you went away with your spouse, you're managing the hotel, you're managing this, you're managing that. And it's like, where do you just kind of get to relax and let things flow?
yeah.
You
There's
know?
something wonderful about wandering somewhere and just
Oh,
seeing the
yeah.
things that you are interested in.
Yes.
And, it's wonderful to do it with somebody, whether it's
Yeah.
a kid or a partner or a
Yep.
friend, but, honor yourself as well.
Yes.
I had this pivotal moment years ago, the Marianas Islands. I was down on a trip by myself to Nuevo Vallarta, and we were pulling away from this just amazing afternoon of snorkeling and boating, very quiet,
Mm.
sleek sailboat, and looking at this island is, and the blue-footed booby birds are up there. I mean, it was just really a cool setting, these marshmallow mountains that Jacques Cousteau had brought on the map for
Mm.
everybody. And I had this thought, this is one of those perfect moments. And
Yes.
I thought, and I'm experience it by myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't think you could have a perfect
Yes.
moment like that unless you were sharing it with somebody. And to realize that it's sharing it within myself,
Yeah.
it could exist because I was holding it in my heart, in my mind, my memory. That was really a beautiful gift.
I did that when I was young. From 20 to 22, I traveled for 2 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
had some incredible experiences that when writing my memoir came out, and it just relived the whole thing that was so wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I was on my own, I was free to say yes or no to something or explore something else. And I met people that lived in the countries, people that were traveling. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And then, of course, when you have your spouse, you're doing it with your spouse, and there's kids, and then obviously obligation to go and see family. I do recommend, if you can, to say, I am taking this amount of time for myself to go and
Mm-hmm.
do what I need to do for me, and just go and be somewhere that has no agenda.
Right. And
No,
and if yeah, and if financial concerns prevent you from
yeah,
going and taking a big trip, take a day here and
yes,
there and just
yes,
go be with you. And I think it's important when you're married to find
yes,
those spaces in order, because how else are you going to bring new things back to one another?
right,
If you do everything
exactly.
together in the first place, you're not going to have, your conversations are going to get a little bit,
All
they're going to
right.
run out of oxygen,
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's wonderful when you can bring something new back that you've discovered on your own and enjoyed.
And when you do have somebody to share it with,
Mm-hmm.
it's, you may have had a hard day and you don't, oh, I don't really want to listen to it, but
Mm-hmm.
respect. You never know how it's going to lift you up, even if they've had a problem that day. It's diverting from your
Mm-hmm.
own issues, listening to somebody else, which very often gives you a solution to your own problem, right?
Right,
Problem
right.
shared,
Very true.
problem halved, right?
Agreed. Agreed.
I mean, it is difficult finding yourself after divorce of who are you now, and doing it while you're still raising children and trying to find their balance, trying to tend to their needs
Mm-hmm.
without maybe it was slightly different for me because I grew up without a dad. He died when I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
um, they still had their dad there, but
Yes.
I was the
Yes.
hands-on parent. There was no
Right.
split anything. And he'd be there for dim sums or dinner or something now and again, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
he's maintained to be. uh, and my son came back to live with me after that 2 years, and
Mm-hmm.
we would go out
Mm-hmm.
for dinner and have deep conversations, because I've always loved philosophy, deep conversations on life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very lucky to have, as somebody pointed out the other day, you've got a wonderful relationship with your children. And I said, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I worked on it. And
Yeah,
any
it does.
relationship
And
in
it
your life, you have to
does.
work on
Yeah.
it.
Right. And the
Don't take
your
for granted.
relationships, right. Your relationships with your kids, you have an opportunity to grow them in a new way when you're
Yeah.
absent the other parent. I do remember my former husband coming to me at one point and saying, I don't know our youngest son. I
Mm,
mean, at that point in life, he really had not been around the kids as much.
yeah.
And I remember sharing some things with him. And then that became his opportunity to begin
Mm,
building that relationship. And I'm thankful, he has been a good dad. I don't know that he would have been the dad that he
yeah.
became if I was still there because I was such a mom.
Yes. Yes.
He enjoyed other things a lot and just didn't really
Mm.
jump in. But I think when he had to, he was really glad that he was able to put the time in and get to know them because they're pretty wonderful, unique people. So
We had a wonderful
mm,
moment last year. My kids together bought a wonderful cottage on a lake, which they Airbnb, and we were there for my son's birthday. And it's on the island, so it's about an hour and a half away from me. And I was there for a couple of days before, and then their father was coming, and I was meant to go home. But there was an enormous storm warning, and I have to drive through the Malahat, which is over the mountains, which very often get
mm,
closed. So, Mum, you're not
yes.
going anywhere. And so it ended up. All of their partners went to bed, and it ended up just being the kids and their father and I. And my
Oh,
son,
yes.
who's a bit like me, quite emotional, can get quite soppy, kind of opened up to his father and saying, "Why couldn't you show us love? Do you
Mm,
really love us?" And then he actually turned around to me and said, "I shouldn't have married. I know I made a terrible husband. I'm not marriage material. I'm sorry." Right. And so that was okay, a surprise, because there's only three apologies I've ever
right.
had from him. That was the third one. To my responses, and from that, yes, you hurt me. Yes, there'll be scars, but both of us have to find our own healing.
Hmm.
And go in the directions of which we have, or I have, I don't know about him. But it was my son got things out of him that he's never shared before. And it was
Yeah.
kind of one of those impromptu, revealing and,
Hmm.
conversations that were never had because you'd always be
And
on the defense,
yes,
my son said that was the best birthday gift he's had, that
you
open
know,
up.
it- that's beautiful. And I think we have to understand this is a thing that will be experienced at different levels
Yeah.
throughout life because as kids move into their 20s and
Yes.
30s and beyond, they're experiencing and understanding the epiphanies will happen
Yes.
and they will suddenly look back and wonder about things in a different way. I've had them and my parents died over 20 years ago. So there are a lot of epiphanies I've
Yeah.
had that I'm like, oh, I don't get to ask that.
Yeah.
But I hope that my kids will ask the questions that come to them and that I hope that they'll get many of them out before I'm gone, because the more that we can kind of share the useful things that we've learned,
Yes.
hopefully the better, better equipped, because we always want them to launch way beyond wherever we've
Right.
gotten
Yes.
to.
Please
I
go
think they're well
further.
on their way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've also
Yeah.
got to remember that, in their 20s, they're going to go out there and experiment with life and spread their wings, and
Hmm.
you're not going to see much of them.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
that's okay because, I'm here, or, the reminder phone call, or let's get together. You may have to be the one to instigate. And it doesn't mean they don't love you or anything else. It's they're just on that
Hmm.
exploratory journey. And then kind of around the
Right.
30s, it's like you as a parent suddenly becomes very important. And they realize they miss you and they want you in their life. And that's all okay. Or everybody's going to go through
Hmm.
their own stage of growth in their own way. Just because they've
Hmm.
gone and maybe not contacting you as much as you want, doesn't mean that there isn't love there. And maybe you are
Hmm.
going to have to be the product. Uh, and
Hmm.
and it's but the thing is never be afraid to have a dialogue with your children.
Well, I
Um,
think you always want to be open and be
yeah,
honest with them and give them the opportunity to do the same.
yes,
But yeah, it is a beautiful, complicated journey at times. But
yeah,
my goodness, I'm always so glad that I get to share it with the kids that I have. And I know
yes.
obviously you feel very much the same.
Hmm.
Um,
I
yeah,
mean, this didn't happen, easily for us. There was a great deal of adjustment and a lot of
mhm,
pivoting and negotiation and left, right, and center. I mean, I as I said, I chose not to go the court and mudslinging that type of way. I was already shattered enough. I didn't need to do that. And sometimes you do have to plant the seeds and do the watering, and that's for you as well. Plant some of
mhm,
your own seeds of your own growth. Understand it's going to take time in all of this transitioning. The more you are enriched in your own personal life, the more you're going to
mhm,
enrich the children, right? And that
right.
is for both partners, but both partners are going to go on their own journey in their own way.
Mhm. Right. And it always, for all our kids, regardless of family circumstance, the more that we can model and make them confident of the fact that they will not have all the answers, just as we don't have all the answers every time, but we have the resources to find them. We have the
Yes,
people that we
more
can
than
talk
ever
to.
before.
Yeah, and that, life is at best, it is always ambiguous
Yeah,
rather. We think we know what's
yeah.
ahead, and so we forget that that's our own
Projection.
making. This yeah, we've projected it out there, but truly it's all ambiguous, and
Yeah,
somehow it scares us when we become aware of that ambiguity, but it's never absent. But we never have to fear it because we do have tools and we have resources, we have people in our lives, or we can find those people. We can invest in these people and build
yeah.
the kind of foundational friendships that will carry us far, and no
No,
matter the circumstances.
it's 21 years for me.
Mhm.
And it's like I've had a total, we were together 20 years. And had another lifetime since then, so to speak. I
Right.
have my three wonderful children, which I'm extremely grateful for. Um, and I'm still in discovery of who I am. I know who I am
Hmm.
today, but I don't look at tomorrow. I look at tomorrow wondrously.
Hmm.
Next week I might be a different person. I might discover something else about me, and that's
Hmm.
the thing I think is a lot of people have put their identity in the marriage as that's all there is. They were Mrs. Right? Well, who were you
Right.
before you got married? Right?
Hmm.
Don't forget you. You were
Right.
a Mrs. because you were in a partnership. If you're not in that partnership anymore, that means you're in partnership with self. So don't forget
Right.
about you and who you are. Don't look at it as a loss of yourself. Look at it as a gaining of yourself. And the more that you step into who you are and joy and happiness of who you are, that will rub off on the children. Because ultimately, just
Yes.
as we want their happiness, they want our happiness.
They absolutely do. And I think, again, we've touched on this, but that whole, you're not simply your relationship.
Yeah.
You're not simply the relationship you have with your kids.
Yeah.
You are a mom, and that's an important part of your life. But you will, even when your hands-on mom days are done, and your mom
Yes.
from a distance, you will still be a valid, productive, and wonderful person to be with. And that takes, the more your kids are aware of these other facets, the more comfortable they'll be that they don't have to take responsibility for your
Yeah.
happiness and
I
welfare.
remember my daughter saying to me when she had my grandson, "How did you do it with three?" And I said, "I honestly can't tell you. I
No.
don't know. We just did it, right? We just
Yes,
did
I
it."
remember just praying that I would get enough sleep to retain some memories of the sweetness
Exactly. Yeah.
because it was going by so fast and in
I
such a
know. I
blur.
know. And
Yeah.
she's got another one coming, and I'm
Yes.
there a lot to help her because she's been in transition career-wise, etc. And
Hmm.
eventually, I will be moving near her. But I have pointed out this isn't built-in babysitter or a nanny. Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
happy to do my grandmother duty. I'm happy to come over and play with the kids, and
Hmm.
they will go away for a weekend and never have to worry. I'm that
Right.
kind of grandma. You can rely on me, but I still have my work and my
Yeah.
life, and I'm not giving it up for it because I did that
Right.
once before to be a mother, which I don't regret being a mother, but I poured myself into motherhood and forgot who I
Hmm.
was. That isn't
Right.
happening again. I rather share who I am
Hmm.
to now and all that I do with the grandchildren, right? Because they'll
Sure.
be better off with that. So
I
that's
think
the
you're very
agreement
right.
now.
That's beautiful, Sarah. That's how we should all aspire.
Hmm.
Definitely.
And
Hmm.
ultimately, there was a little bit on Facebook today with Trevor Noah. I love Trevor Noah from The Daily Show,
Oh,
and
yes.
he's a
Uh-huh.
wonderful human being. And he was being interviewed. It was just a snippet, and he was talking about he was raised by his mother and grandmother. And I don't know if you know his
Hmm.
story. He's half black, half
Yes.
white, and he was the
Right.
um, the child that could have been arrested. Mother could have been arrested for being half at that time with apartheid.
Hmm.
And he always remembers his grandmother as kind of being the disciplinarian, the wise one, etc. But he actually sat down and talked to her. She was 95 at the time. And he said it was the first time in his life that they didn't have a child grandmother talk, that they talked about life. And he said, I wish I'd done this
Yes.
earlier. and not just looked at her
Yes.
as grandma, but looked at her as a human being with
As a
ideas
person.
and perceptions,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
kids out there, don't forget, we were
Mhm.
once kids, we were once young adults. We have been everything along the scale to get where we are today. We're so much more
Mhm.
than the label that is on us. Get to know
It,
us. Get to know
the
us.
adult relationships are so
Yeah.
sweet. I mean, each time I remember as my kids moved through, left one stage behind for the next, there's always a pang.
Mm,
The little things that you will have no more, but
yeah.
what a richness
I know.
grows as you get to become, they know themselves
Mm.
better, and you learn so much from them, and you have more things that you can share together and at a different level. I really enjoy. I think it's important we embrace where we are in this day because it is the best we will have on this day, and it's all good.
My daughter's husband is an only child. And
Mm-hmm.
she said to him, there is no way we're having one. We have to have
Mm.
two. I loved having siblings. And although
Mm-hmm.
they've all taken their own journeys and some even lived overseas for a while and they were at different levels in life, they are there for each other. They love each other
Yes.
and they love spending time together with each other, in the 30s, and
Yes.
all in different types of lifestyles, but they still love
Mm-hmm.
coming together. That to me is a gift. That is a gift
That's
to see that.
agreed. I love that my kids have each other,
Yeah.
and I love knowing that there are conversations I will never hear, that there are stories that I will never know, that
Hmm.
they share them amongst themselves.
Yes.
I don't mind being left out if I
Right,
know
exactly.
that
Yeah.
they are building something between themselves. That
Yeah.
really truly that's indeed a great gift.
And if you play the push and pull game with favoritism and it ends up forcing a child to choose one parent over another, you're denying them a wonderful
Yeah.
relationship with
Oh,
their siblings,
absolutely.
right? And
Yeah,
what
it's
could
hard to
be.
get past that
Yeah.
stuff. It's hard to
Yeah.
get past that. And it is difficult, I think, when parents don't have a strong network and they're
Yeah.
going through a tough relationship time, whether it be a divorce or something else, the kid's right there and
Yeah.
people say inappropriate things,
Yes.
alliances are formed, and it is not ever to the kid's benefit.
No.
So it's important, kids, they don't need to hear grown-up things.
Right.
Keep it
Exactly.
keep it very basic. Mommy's sad today,
Yeah.
but I will be okay.
Yeah.
And we will be okay. Why don't we go take a walk?
Right.
This
A
is
hug from you will help me feel so much better.
yes.
I have a
Right.
fibromyalgia. Every time I saw my son, why don't you do this, Mom? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? And I said to him one time, I just grasped his hands and I said,
Hmm.
every time you tell me to do that, you're making me feel broken. Don't you know
Oh.
that your love and a hug from you is all the healing I need? And he said,
Mm.
oh, I didn't realize that. And you could see physically a burden
Yeah.
come off his shoulders. It wasn't for him to fix me.
Yeah.
It was just for
Right.
him to nurture me. Let's
Hmm.
nurture each other. And we do. I mean, he's
Hmm.
6'2", turning 38. We're huggers.
Right.
We're huggers. Big kisses and
Love those
huggers. So,
hugs. Yes.
it's we go through the stage of embarrassing our kids, even talking to them when they're teenagers in public. Right? You go to the other stage where you can get smooch and hug them and they love it. So
Yes.
everything has
Right.
its stage, right? And that's the important thing.
Definitely.
But we
Definitely.
do have to, just as much as we have to navigate through a divorce, we want to do it as friendly as possible. If the other side doesn't want to be friendly, then that makes it very difficult. And maybe you do need negotiation and intervention there to do so.
Hmm.
But it is and even though it's rather a tumultuous time for you, it's up to you to keep the equilibrium with the kids. And you say, look,
A
this is a
special
difficult time.
challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I
call
had a
on people that can
situation
help.
where there was not going to be mediation.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. And that was a very difficult way to do it. It's not something I would ever recommend, but
No.
I was not going to extricate from the situation
Yeah.
without help in that situation. There are things I would have done better, knowing now, but
Hindsight is,
at the time I
yeah.
did the best I
Yes.
could. And that's why I do suggest really strongly that you kind of equip yourself before you find
Yes.
yourself in the middle of
Prepare.
that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are times, you can't make anybody else do what they don't want to
Right.
do.
Right.
So all you can do is continue to make choices that you can be proud of.
Yeah.
And eventually you will get your life to where you need it to be. But
And it's okay to
it's
put
hard to
yourself
journey through
first.
that.
And it's okay
Mhm.
to put, the all oxygen thing. If you're gasping for
Mhm.
breath, how can you help your children? Right? So
Right.
it is okay for you to put yourself first and get out of a relationship and go on that kind of discovery to become oxygenated so you can breathe life into your children. It's
Mhm.
essential, right? And it's
Right.
essential for
Yeah.
your children to know I'm just as much in discovery of this new life as you are. Let's do it together.
Right. Right. No, there's terrible situations where there's abuse to a level that the mother
Uh,
has to flee. And I've
yeah.
been privileged to speak at fundraisers and that kind of thing for those, and be connected with those organizations. But that's again a place where they really want to be equipped before they
Yes.
begin to take steps and understand, the difficulties are part of that journey. I mean, it is not going to look the way you want it to for a
No.
long time. But if you are making positive choices that honor you as a human being and create possibilities for your kids, then that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And their safety and your safety is inherent.
Yes.
So,
And let's face
mhm,
it, today, I mean, 21 years ago, there wasn't the internet. There were very few people. And of course, I couldn't go anywhere that would cost money because then where's that money going? So it was only
mhm,
things that I could do, free services or, you know,
yeah,
whatever that again. Now, especially I've done many, many shows on divorce and resources, etc. One
yes.
beautiful woman from Contagious Smile, Victoria, her husband beat her up so badly that literally half of her body is metal, and she was
Oh,
pregnant at the time, and the child ended up with some issues. But today she started this Contagious Smile. She ended up marrying the love of her life, who's wonderfully supportive. She has all of these programs and resources for women who are going through similar things, and she even
yes.
has resources for people with children with difficulties. And it's like she chose, yeah, I'm not going to be a victim again. I'm not going to put
No.
myself. She has had hundreds of operations with another piece of metal or another electronic thing put in her body.
Mm,
But you look at this woman who's beautiful and vibrant and out there doing her thing, loving life
mhm.
because she fought to take back her life.
She
Right?
did, and then she looked to how she could fix things for others, how she could
Exactly.
help, and that's beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, because that's the thing. If you can repurpose
Yeah.
the negative within it,
Yeah.
then it's not wasted.
No.
It may have been painful, it may have been excruciating at the time, but if you can repurpose it and give it a new life, something that it can create good, then I don't know, it makes a lot of things that seemed intolerable, at least you can fathom surviving it. It's
Yeah.
not a horrible thing anymore because you've brought something good out of it.
I say inspiration begets invitation. And if you've inspired someone else and invited them to take their own journey and strength, that is a beautiful gift to everybody, right? To
Mhm.
yourself and to them. And, don't stay in a relationship where you just know it's going to go from bad to worse. If both
Mm.
partners are willing to do therapy, then great, fantastic. If you've got a partner that doesn't think that they need it, that it's all you,
Mhm.
then you know that nothing you do ever will be good enough for them or resolve
but
anything.
but still do the therapy
Oh,
so
for
that you have
you.
the strength to do,
Yes,
yes, so that
yes,
you have
for
the
you,
strength to
not
take care
not
of
with them.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But there's nothing wrong with you that you need to fix that's going to make them love you again, right?
No, no.
If there are these conditions on you that you've got to do this, you've got to lose weight, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, then no, and they're not willing to take
Mhm.
their side of it and speak to someone. It doesn't matter if you became the sexiest, skinniest, most beautiful model in the world, they'll still find
Mhm.
fault with you because the fault is something that's inside of them they're dealing with and they're projecting
Right.
it on you. And that
Yes.
situation you need to get out before they make you mush, because it's much harder to come back from mush, folks, believe me. And
Right.
before that divorce thing is this, I went through kind of 8 years of just virtually being non-existent to my own life, out of protection, and just the constant browbeating. Never took a hand to me, but my God, that piranha.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot to get out of that. Please
Yeah,
don't
it
do what I
does.
did and bear it and grin it and think that everybody else is okay. No, they're witnessing that. Right?
Yeah,
You think
if
they
you
don't see
if
it,
you
they're witnessing that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, how you feel,
Yeah.
not totally, because we can get depressed
Oh,
and project
yes.
things onto our partner. But, if you feel like you are being diminished and that you are not with a voice, you have no voice, and it may even feel familiar, but consider why that might be. Is this something that you experienced as a child? Watch it with
Yes.
your parents or with a family that you spent a lot of time with. But life should be about so it should have some joy in it,
Yeah.
some possibilities, some hope. If you can't find that within
Yeah.
it and give that experience also to your kids, then it's time to
Time for
probably
change.
consider other alternatives,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
this
it
till death
happens.
is to part, where you have to look at something. If there's a death in the relationship, that the relationship is
Mhm.
no longer what it used to be, there is that death. Now it's
Yeah,
time to part.
right.
So
Mm.
I want people to go back and listen to all the other shows. Will you also quickly tell us about your books so people can go back to the other shows and look at the books as well?
Sure, sure. The ones I like to mention are Date Like a Grown Up, Anecdotes, Admissions of Guilt, and Advice Between Friends. That is what you do not want to do immediately after you've gone
Yes.
through a divorce or are going through one. This is, it has some cautionary tales, some funny ones too,
Mhm.
but you want to do it in the right order. What the book you should read first is The Friendship Upgrade.
Mhm.
Trade clickable connections for friendships that matter, because that truly,
Gets you
again,
through it.
lots of stories in there, but that is where you find your strength.
Yeah.
And if you feel lonely and you feel isolated as a result of your circumstances, understand that a lot of other people feel the same
Yeah.
way, maybe not even through the same circumstances, but our loneliness level and our mental health issues are worse than they've ever been.
Oh
So
God,
there
are
are
they?
people that are just hungry for a friend like
Right.
you. But yeah,
Yes.
do and check my website. I also speak and love to connect with people, whether through workshops or one-on-one, or I do I do keynotes, that kind of thing as well. So,
And the site is?
oh, that is an important detail, Sarah. Thank you. That's why you're in that chair. It is heatherdugan.com, and Dugan is Dugan, as Sarah said. Yes. Thank you.
So much wisdom that you have shared in past shows and again with this show. And it always comes back to something. And it's something that took me a long time to understand. I was always living the outside life trying to please everyone else. And thought if I please and give
Mm,
everybody else what they wanted, then I could find me. And it isn't, it's the other way around. You need to find
no,
you. And then in your own essence, you'll please other people, but you're not pleasing them, getting them to please you for approval, because no approval is
right.
needed, right? They're there because
No.
they feel your essence. And if they don't, they won't be there. So it took a long time to learn that, but through all of what you're doing and all the shows that we've done together, it is always comes back to self. How much do you love yourself? How much are you giving yourself to be all that you can be? Because that's when you can really share you, and that's when everybody really benefits the you.
Yes. Rather than trying to be strength for others, try to
Yeah.
facilitate the strength that is
Yes.
within them.
Again, by inspiration,
Mhm.
by the essence of the vibration and the passion of who
Mm,
you are. You have no idea how it can ignite something in someone. They just may be lacking that passion for anything. And but your exuberance for life of who you are will rub off on them and switch something on. And sometimes it
mm.
only needs that little pivot, right? Just to get people
Right.
moving in the right direction.
True. Very true, Sarah. Yes. Yeah. We hope that everybody will find their own and spark and go be the best that they can be,
Yeah.
right?
The one thing we don't want you to do, folks, and this is something that we're both passionate about, please don't play the mudslinging game and never ever
Mm,
use your children as pawns in your divorce. Your issue with your husband is your issue with your partner, whatever your partner is. Um, don't use your children.
mm,
And also try and make sure that they are not caught up in the whirlwind. And if you can, both be grown-ups and do this, friendly and in a way that benefits everybody. There's just two people separating in two different, families now, so to speak. That is the best way to do it. If you feel that you can't do that because of circumstances, most certainly get other people involved that can be your protection, or be your guidance. Go and get the help that you need to be clear on your choice and what is coming next. Don't just like, I
Right.
want a divorce, that's it, over and done with, and you haven't done any
Right.
homework. Do your
Yeah. Do
homework
your
beforehand.
homework, build in spaces to
Mm.
reset along the way so that you have release valves so you don't do it inappropriately.
Right. And that means also, certain family members are going to be with you and certain family members aren't. And those that you know are going to be with you, let them know what your choice is going to be and that you're going
Hmm.
to be needing them. You're going to be needing to,
Right.
rely on them. And if they, oh, I don't agree, you've got to stay with them, then they're not reliable. So
Right.
it may be a best
Right.
friend instead. So it's, but do your research before you do it. But do not stay in a relationship where you are emotionally, spiritually, or even physically dying. You're no good to anybody in that state, and certainly no good to yourself. So,
Mm.
close the book on that chapter, open up a new chapter, and explore the wonders of who you really are. Thank you so much for being here, Heather.
Thank you,
Always a
Sarah. It's
delight.
always a
Look forward to next
pleasure.
time.
Likewise. Thank you.
Please put in Heather Dugan on selfdiscoverymedia.com. You'll see all of her other shows up there, plus it'll be on the link of this show anyway. And please do listen, look at the books, read the books. I didn't have the benefit of any of this guidance when I was divorcing. We have so much here at our fingertips now. And there's somebody at the end of that click that is there ready to help you in whatever your journey is. You are not alone. You don't need to do it alone. You have support, you have guidance, and do what is best for you, because ultimately it's what's best for your children as well. Until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations, or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.